Okay, hello, anyone who stuck around or tried to come back. I don't know, Zach, if there's a way that you can put a community post on there with a new link. Do you know how to do that? Sorry, this is part 2 of our Thanksgiving video. I lost internet as I was making this apple tart, and we could not figure out how to restart the live that I was already in. Guess I'm gonna have to do some additional research on that. So sorry, everyone. But we're gonna charge forward and prepare this apple crisp. Let me grab the recipe. This is the chaos of trying to do things like this. Okay, so apple crisp, like I said, is really quite easy, and I'm going to make the kind of crumble topping in this bowl. We're going to do about half a cup of almond flour. This, and then we're going to do some oats. And I'm also going to be adding pecans to this and some of these other delicious things. But it's very, very easy, very straightforward. It's kind of hard to mess it up, so that's always nice. All right, so dry ingredients are going to be oats. I need a little bit more. So I'm making a bigger crisp. Any luck there, Zach? Trying to...
I just put the link in the other channel. I don't know what the community thing is.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I'll see if I can try to merge these two together afterwards. Okay, so this is almond flour and oats. I'm also going to chop up some pecans to mix in there. Oops. Pecans are optional. You can also use a different nut. I just like them in this. And let's move this stuff back out of the way. Sorry, I am a little frazzled over here after losing internet for a significant part of our lives. So I don't think anyone is still with us, but we're going to charge forward anyway.
Well, so there's 2 people.
Oh, great. Thanks, guys.
Whoever you 2 people are, comment in there and say what your name is and where you're from.
Great.
And your favorite Thanksgiving dish.
Ooh. What would I do without Zach? It's a great idea.
You'd still be fixing the internet.
Maybe. I might still be fixing the internet. That's possible. Okay, so I am just going to chop up these pecans. If you are in the States and you live anywhere near Trader Joe's, they often will have nuts that are already chopped up for cheaper. So you'll get like walnut pieces or chopped pecans or slivered almonds. And that is what I recommend here, so you don't have to bother chopping because, I threw a nut at you. But they are usually cheaper, so you save time and they're also saving money. Okay. Ooh, crowded my cutting board here while we were trying to figure things out. So we're looking for most of the pieces that are like this to be broken up smaller to about this size or smaller. And that's essentially what we've got here. It's just going to bring some texture. It's also going to bring some sweetness to the dish. I mean, obviously it's a sweet dish, but pecans are a very sweet nut. So that kind of contributes as well. Let's see. All right, so almond flour, oats, chopped nuts. We're going to do some butter, maple syrup, cinnamon, and salt. And I'll put a little bit of salt in here. Let me measure it. All right, Zach, did somebody answer?
We got a message. Barbara, on the road and Thanksgiving like traffic. She loves cauliflower on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. That's my mom. Thanks, Mom.
Hi, Barbara.
I think my mom, so I would not eat cauliflower when I was growing up. I refused. I was picky. I probably refused a lot of foods. So we actually don't even know if I've ever had it at Thanksgiving, but my mom used to make like a whole cauliflower head with sort of this sauce and then topped with cheddar cheese. Did you ever have that?
Cauliflower?
It's like a whole, I feel like it's a whole
Thanksgiving?
head of cauliflower.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. Okay.
Definitely wouldn't have eaten that, even if it was offered.
Rude.
So a little kid.
Oh yeah, but I mean at my parents' house. I mean
Oh.
like at my family Thanksgiving. With my
I don't recall.
I don't think I've had it either. I wonder if my mom hasn't made it in a while or what. Okay, can you hear me that butter? I have a butter that's already open. I'm gonna use that. And I'm just gonna nuke it. And I'm gonna use melted butter in this topping. Although you could probably mix this up. It's very, very soft at this point. One tip, I'm gonna scrape this with the back of my knife, but if you need to grease something that maybe you're baking, these guys are a great way to grease baking dishes and such. Highly recommend it. Okay, so we are going to melt this butter. Zach's on IT, so we're just going to melt that a little bit. And we're going to get some maple syrup. And, oh, you know what? I don't even add sugar to this topping. We're just going to do maple syrup on the topping, which I think you can kind of get away with that because of how sweet the apples are. So about 2 tablespoons of this. I actually am going to eyeball it. That's about 1 tablespoon. Pouring it slowly. 2 tablespoons. It's a little more than 2 tablespoons. But that's okay. This is about 1.5 of my recipe. And melted butter going in. Oh, it smells really good. Oh, I think I forgot to add the cinnamon. Actually, we'll add the cinnamon. And this recipe I do not have on my site. I have made it, various versions of it many times. I did photograph the blueberry version of this, but I never ended up posting it. So hopefully I will get this to you guys soon. But any of these recipes most of them are not on my blog. So if you want any of them, just leave a comment on this one or the other stream. I will try to merge them. And let me know, and I will make sure to post it. Maybe I'll just post it in the description box or as one of the comments. Okay, so I added 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and we basically just want to mix it so that everything looks mostly wet. You can definitely use regular sugar here or coconut sugar or honey, whatever you prefer to use. I just kind of make it almost like a sweeter granola topping. And we're going to season up these apples as well. So could you take that for me? We are going to put some arrowroot powder. You can use cornstarch. That is going to help thicken this up. The apples are going to give off a lot of juices, and this will help them to sort of not be quite so watery. And this arrowroot. We're also going to put some cinnamon in here, and you can do maple syrup in here as well. The maple syrup is a great flavor, of course. Also pumpkin pie spice, nutmeg, any sort of fall spices are good in here. And I'm gonna also do sort of a sprinkling of salt, and I'm just gonna give it a little mix. Salt is here. And I think usually I use maple syrup here as well, but you can totally do, like I said, something different. This is really flexible. I have only measured this maybe 2 or 3 times when I was testing it to get actual measurements because I will put it on my blog eventually. But the rest of the time, you just kind of wing it, and it's pretty much always going to be delicious, I think. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see this. We're just kind of coating everything in cinnamon, maple, and arrowroot. And I did have a question about there was some question about like why I cook in what thing. This was not on the live box. This was, I think somebody was asking me about this on Instagram, this carbon steel pan. But I will tell you that I had to buy some of those aluminum pans for cooking, but I didn't want to put the apple in them because I don't prefer to cook in aluminum. It's obviously it's wasteful because you're probably it's disposable. But also aluminum is a soft metal that leaches, and we definitely don't want the buildup of any heavy metals at all, but especially not aluminum. We've got it's tied to brain health, behavior issues. So usually I wouldn't use it, but in this case, thanks. In this case, didn't have a whole lot of a choice because I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of new things. So I'm choosing to use it for the items that are not acidic. This apple crisp is acidic because apples are acidic. So anything that you cook it in is going to leach more. So sometimes I just kind of balance those options out. Like I would prefer not to cook something like a lasagna or tomato-based dish in the aluminum because it makes the aluminum leach into the food more. So that's why I saved my one casserole dish for this crisp. And it looks great. All right, that was our timer for the stuffing. So I'm gonna take a look. And also for our garlic. All right. I think it's done, but I need here we go. I need something stable to put it on because that aluminum is a little flimsy. All right. So if you are making a very crispy sort of top stuffing, this is exactly what you're looking for that extra texture. Again, if you want it to be more of a softer bread pudding style, you would do more liquid, you would do some egg in there as well. But this is a little bit looser and crunchier, and that is what we're looking for. I'm going to grab a fork and just make sure all the vegetables are done. And while we're at it, I will check the potatoes for the mashed potatoes. So, oh yeah, turnips are harder than rutabaga, so the turnips are actually a little underdone. They're not done yet. So instead of, can you actually take this out? Thanks, we're gonna put that in a minute. So instead of putting it back in, I'm gonna cover it with foil, and that's actually what you could do to start. I probably should have done that. I kind of forgot that turnips will take a little longer to cook than rutabaga. So I'm just going to cover it and give it some more time in the oven. I'm going to see, this is also a question, I'm going to see if the crisp will fit at the same time as this or not. So Zach, can you bring that back over? And then we're going to do our crackers. Thank you. Blues. Yeah. Oh, I don't think it's going to fit. It's not going to fit, guys. So I'm going to give it 10 more minutes. That will be a little bit tight with our 2-hour time limit here. Okay, let's check these potatoes. And okay. So essentially, what you're looking for, I'm gonna put it on this one, is that you can easily break through it. So that one is giving me a little bit of resistance, so we're gonna give it a little bit more time, which tells me also that we may not get both batches done in our 2 hours. So stovetop might have been helpful to do the second batch, but that's okay. All right, I need to clean this stuff up a little bit. And then what is our next dish on the list?
Shredded Brussels. Shredded Brussels.
Are you sure? After
Sorry.
apple crisp?
Cranberry sauce.
Yeah, cranberry
I was
sauce.
gonna do it.
To Zach's credit, they're in the wrong order. Oh, and you can put vanilla in apple crisp. I pulled some out to add, but I didn't have it written down, so I forgot.
These seats.
Which is fine. Okay, so cranberries, fortunately, very straightforward. There's something that you can get on the stove early if you want also, because they're pretty quick. So Zach, could you please bring me those cranberries and the container with the orange in it? Yeah, just right here is good. I know it's chaos behind me, but that's to be expected. All right, these cranberries were a labor of love. The woman at the market gave me more than I asked for, but I don't speak Estonian, and she didn't speak English, so this is what I got. We're gonna have a ton of cranberry sauce, so I hope our guests, it's still going, I hope our guests will enjoy it. It also took a really long time to actually clean all of these. So I'm going to zest this orange, and then I'm just going to put these cranberries on the stove. We're going to let them simmer down. I will add some orange juice towards the end along with some sugar, and I will give them a little bit of water now just to kind of get the cooking started. It's not necessary because you're kind of going to simmer them down anyway. I really like it's very traditional, I think, to do cranberry sauce with orange if you're making it homemade. Some people will put a cinnamon stick in also, which I think is really nice. But we don't have that, so this is what we're doing. And then I also like to do the whole zest. I know that this is kind of pockmarked, but that's okay. Some people will just slice it and put large pieces of the zest in there and then take them out. I like the zest to stay in, plus it's actually another food that's good for your gut. There's something called, there's a little stick in here, there's something called limonene in the zest of oranges and lemons, and it's very healing to the gut, so just leave it in, it's food, you know? All right. So I'm just going to let that sort of come to a simmer. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to it. And then what's next, Seth?
Brussels. Shredded Brussels.
Shredded Brussels sprouts, yeah. So this is where things really go off the rails because I have to use the food processor. And that is going to take some time. So, Zach, could you bring the Brussels sprouts stuff over here, please? Right here. All right. Basically, for the Brussels sprouts, I did a little bit of this already. Not putting things in the sink because the sink is contaminated from the chicken. I don't want to get that on anything else, even though I'm going to clean everything. So that's just so you know. So Brussels sprouts, we're doing shredded Brussels sprouts. I really like the shredded Brussels sprouts because everything cooks evenly. It's like you can just stir it around. It's really easy. And all you have to do is cut the bottom off of the sprout, and then you can put this in your food processor. So that's what we're gonna do. I did about half of them already, and we're gonna roast these in a sheet pan, and then timing may not work because of the apple crisp situation, but we'll just do the best that we can. And then in the last couple of minutes, I will add some crushed up walnuts. You can also add lemon zest and honey, which is really good. We had this at a Friendsgiving a few years ago, last year maybe even, and I love it. But I don't know if we'll get around to doing that this time around. So I'm just gonna prep the rest of these Brussels sprouts, and then we'll put them in the food processor. So Zach, do you mind asking me another question?
Yes.
Please.
Do you recommend eliminating alcohol? Or how might you recommend combating the effects of alcohol?
Oh yeah, I think these were two questions. Okay, so good question. The one about eliminating alcohol, I think that she had also said just like, with, I don't know, maybe some health issues or something. But let's talk about alcohol. So alcohol is something that a lot of people enjoy. It can be extremely fun, but it is, of course, a known toxin. I think a lot of times people get crazy about you have to only consume organic produce and you have to, cut sugar out, and carbs are bad and fruit has too much sugar, and people kind of get extreme with all of these things while also consuming a toxin. Alcohol is a toxin. None of those other things are actually toxins. Alcohol is a toxin that gets processed by the liver. So I think it depends on what your goals are, what your situation is, and just kind of having a little bit of awareness. If you're, on a diet, for example, or you're trying to restrict something and then you're still consuming alcohol, you may realize that you don't actually, your priorities could be a little bit skewed or something. I don't know.
So do you recommend eliminating alcohol?
I'm going to answer that question in the roundabout, it depends way that I answer all questions. So what I was going to say next, thanks, Zach,
You're welcome.
is that if you're, dealing with a lot of health issues and you're drinking a lot of alcohol, or you have a lot of anxiety, mental health issues in general, I think it could be worth eliminating something like alcohol for a month to see how you feel. You can also speak with your provider and see how much it's affecting you. Again, are you going to be healthier if you remove alcohol from your diet completely? In most cases, probably. But I think that we have a lot of social connections to alcohol, and I think people have a hard time giving that one up.
All right, so for the drinkers on Thanksgiving, how can they combat the effects of alcohol on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, so one other thing that I want to say, though, about alcohol. Wait, no, I lost it now.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
You're just trying to help. Okay. So anyway,
combating
it's balance. If you want to combat it, I think the most important things to remember are to just take care of yourself. So I was actually talking about this with one of my clients who also asked me if she needed to give up alcohol. Realistically, if you're going to consume alcohol, just think about what it means to take care of yourself and do those things. So that means we all know that, alcohol can contribute to dehydration, so drink more water. We also know that you're probably not going to sleep well or eat well. So just kind of be aware of those things and do the best you can. If you're going to drink alcohol, try to sleep in if you can, or go to bed a little early. Try to drink extra water throughout the night. Make sure that you're also eating food. I think people don't realize that drinking alcohol on an empty stomach is the absolute worst thing that you can do for your system when it comes to alcohol. Of course, it gets your bloodstream faster and people want to do that. I understand that. But realistically, for your health, you want to make sure that you have food if you're going to be consuming alcohol. And then the last thing that you can do is take a supplement called NAC. You've probably heard of it. It was getting a lot of attention in the early days of COVID. And it's harder to get these days because of that. But if you can get it, or if your provider recommends it for you, that's something that can be taken on an empty stomach between meals, and it actually does help with glutathione production. So that's something that we do recommend for alcoholics or people who drink at the doctor's office where I work. Okay. Yeah, I think that's everything on the alcohol front. I mean, we all know it's not health food, but
Just
there's things you can do.
drink alcohol with coffee, and then it's like nothing.
It's so false.
You get a free pass on that drink.
Remember Four Loko? You guys remember Four Loko and
Yes.
Sparks?
It's the best.
They got completely banned because they were.
Interestingly enough,
destroying
you can still
people.
go buy an Irish coffee. So
That's
Weird.
true. People will do that. Okay, so that's alcohol.
if you want to
We can do another question in a second. This is going to be, well, maybe the blank silence is the worst part of the live. I need to shred these Brussels sprouts. Actually, since we're kind of over, you saw me doing this. You just cut the bottom off. This is what you're looking for. We're just going to add olive oil, salt, pepper, and lay it out on a sheet pan. So maybe I'll just do that. And
do it over here.
yeah, can you bring that to me? Just the sheet tray. Yeah, without that stuff. So we'll just do that. And then maybe I won't actually shred these live because it's noisy.
I can shred them over here. That's what it's-
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely
Yeah.
fit. We could definitely fit more on here. What's that?
Nothing. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna set these aside. This is for the cranberries. After the Brussels sprouts, Zach, what is the next item?
Green salad.
Okay, great. So Brussels sprouts, again, there are other ways that you can do them. I just think that this makes them all really crispy, and they cook in like 8 to 10 minutes. So you can do this like the very last thing when basically everything's done in your oven. And we're just doing salt, pepper. I'm gonna do red pepper flakes. And then I'll decide tomorrow when I'm serving if I feel like I want to zhuzh them up with that orange zest honey sauce. But I'm not going to, that would be an after you're done sort of thing. So some red pepper flakes, not too much. It's nice to have something that has a little bit of a kick on the table. I feel like Zach just kicked the air. All right. So ideally you would have plenty of space to spread these all out. This is certainly a slightly more crowded pan, so some of it will steam. I'm going to spread it out as much as I can and a little bit more towards the edges because the inside will cook more slowly. Oh, that's the rice cooker, so maybe the potatoes are done. I don't have room for these in the oven yet, so we're gonna set those aside and move on to our salad. Actually, maybe we can do the potatoes. I'm gonna check them. Yes, the potatoes are done. So I'm using 2 types of potatoes. You don't have to do that, that's just what I had. So it's like Yukon Gold and then some red potatoes that were yellow on the inside. I don't know what like half the food here is, so sometimes it might be weird. Okay, Zach, I'm probably gonna need your help for this step. Could you hold this up here so I can pour the potatoes? And, all right, and then we can mash them, which will be nice. And I think, all right, thank you. So, you're gonna put that in here. Hold on 1 second. You're just gonna put that right in there.
The whole thing, or pour it in there?
No, don't pour it. Just put the whole thing in. Perfect. All right. We're gonna do the other potatoes, I think. Can you just take that over there for me? Get it out of the way somewhere. All right. So those potatoes took longer than I wanted. So realistically, I could have cooked these other potatoes in on the stove. I had a little bit of space. I would have done all these in the crock pot, except that our crock pot became a fire hazard like a week or two ago. And it sparked, I don't know, something happened and it caused the power in our whole building to go out twice. So, actually 3 times, once in the middle of the night, even though it wasn't on, it was just plugged in, which was really scary. So, kind of didn't have that option. So we're just gonna do half the potatoes, I think. And we will mash them in here. And this is another thing, whether you can use your crock pot or not, it will keep things warm. So I do plan on serving mashed potatoes in here tomorrow. I'm gonna pour hot boiling water in just this crock, put a lid on it for like 10 minutes, and then I'll put the warmed up potatoes in.
Is that the crock or the pot?
Oh, I think this is called the crock, but also.
But the other thing is the pot?
No, but I think the word for this is a crock, right? All right, so these have been salted, so I'm not gonna add any salt yet.
It's a different type of crock.
I don't know. I feel like I remember this being called a crock.
Sounds like a crock.
Could be a crock, yeah. Okay. It's a good thing Zach's here, guys. I'm doing what is about a stick of butter, a little bit under, and I'm gonna mash it, and then we're gonna taste it and see. Maybe I should ask Zach to mash this. What do you think, Zach? Can you mash this while
I was hoping for this.
Yeah.
Oh, this tool's not.
Well, I mean, it's just a regular masher. So obviously there are a million mashed potatoes recipes in the world. I don't actually like mashed potatoes very much. So if you are coming to Thanksgiving at my house, well, tomorrow, sorry, and you are, an American and you have a way that you like your mashed potatoes, I recommend that you volunteer to bring the mashed potatoes.
Bring your own damn potatoes.
Because I will tell you, I don't care about them that much. So usually I just keep adding salt and butter until they taste good.
You think other people do it different?
Well, people like to whip them, put them through a potato ricer, make them extra creamy.
Fancy potatoes.
Yeah, they like to put goat cheese in them. Some people are like, oh, you have to put sour cream in. You have to put heavy cream in. People, Zach, people.
The goat cheese.
Yeah, I know you don't like goat cheese. Also, I didn't peel any of these potatoes, which I know some people have strong feelings about. So Zach really likes the skin. Oh wow, that just broke our potato masher. Oh my gosh, so maybe we won't have more tomorrow.
We can leave it in there.
Hold on, be careful. I want to make sure there's no broken metal in this food. Oh no, it just snapped right off, huh?
No, it didn't. I don't know.
Hold on, you're licking your fingers.
It tastes good.
Great, but you can't touch anything now. You have to wash your hands. See? Safe. Well, that is a bummer, but it's fine. So this thing just snapped right off. Wow, it just broke completely at the metal.
The pins. Yeah, that good on, huh?
Wow. Okay. Well, this is
Get that out.
goodbye.
Yeah, let me rinse it and I'll make sure that none of the
If there's anything missing.
Yes.
Well, after 30 minutes, the garlic is nice and soft. You can roast it like longer for a more caramelized flavor. You don't have to. Really what we're looking for is, move closer, the ability to kind of just squeeze it out of the cloves like that, which you can do easily. And that's what we're going to add to the mashed potatoes. And we always ate garlicky mashed potatoes growing up, so this is just kind of how I tend to make them, just probably with more butter than what maybe my parents used, I don't know. But yes, we get all that out. I'm just going to use half in here because we have the other half to worry about, but that's half a head of garlic. And we'll use a fork to mash that in. Two things about garlic. One is if you have garlic on your hands, you can rub them on the stainless steel of a spoon, plate, pot, something like that, and it will actually take the smell off. And second is that garlic has some antimicrobial, side here, some antimicrobial properties that this garlic, doesn't really matter, but when you're mincing up garlic, if you can mince it 10 minutes before you're going to cook it, it will help to activate those antimicrobial properties, which have some anti-inflammatory effects as well. Okay, before we move on to the next thing, we do need to, it's chaos over here, we do need to check the chicken. I might need to rotate it. And then we'll do the salad. Can you, we'll do those potatoes in a second. Yeah, so the chicken is starting to get dark on top. So we want to check it and see how it's doing. I'm going to do some space here. I'm actually going to pull it out and take a look. Guys, this is a little bit of chaos. Does it feel like chaos, Zach?
Always does.
All right. The most amount of chaos is just from the actual live not working.
Might happen again.
Which could happen again. Can you put this out over there? I'm gonna make some space. These other potatoes are just gonna have to wait until tomorrow. These roasted garlic potatoes, we're gonna taste for salt and gonna add pepper to them, and then make sure that the garlic is all the way mashed. All right, so I'm gonna rotate. Oh, this is very heavy.
No.
Yeah. Okay, let me close that. It looks really good. It has been in there for about an hour and 20 minutes. Like I said, this is a slightly higher temperature than you would normally cook something like this on. So it might be done. But you're always going to want to check a few places. And you want to make sure that it's cooked all the way to 165. Some people will take it out at 160 because the residual heat will continue the cooking. But I especially like for it to be 165. But we are hitting 170 all around.
Overachiever.
So, yeah. So that also tells us that, like, this exposed breast right here, that's probably going to be on the drier side.
Give it to someone else.
So what you can do if you're not serving it right away is you can remove it, slice it, and then add all of the drippings to wherever the chicken breast is. So if you're going to kind of slice that up and serve it, ideally then as it sits, it will reabsorb that. And it does work really well. You know, it's not super ideal for a Thanksgiving situation when you're trying to serve it right away, but okay, so usually this underneath part where the thigh is going to take the longest, especially on the inside in the middle part where there's two birds, and those are 168. So yeah. So this bird is done. Let's get some other stuff in this oven. The crisp is on the bottom, that's fine. Zach, if you could just bring the Brussels sprouts. We're gonna get the shredded ones. Those are only gonna take 8 minutes. So we'll just stick them in, and I will stir them at 5 minutes because I want to make sure you guys get a chance to see what this looks like. These guys, they look really cute. Also, a few things. Did you just rinse these off? That's what the potato was on.
Yeah.
Okay. So like this one has a little bit of char on the top. You can see, but they're super, super soft and squishy and delicious. So you can leave them in there and serve like this if you have people who like that. I would prefer them smaller, so I would take these out and slice them. The carrots I would probably slice into thirds so people can just take 1 or 2 pieces if they want. The onions are definitely done. Let's get a fork and check the carrots all around before we move on to the salad. And then what's after the salad, Zach? Is there one more?
Salsa verde.
Okay, that's the last thing. So we are trucking along, but we did get very far behind. Ooh, so there's one thick carrot under here that's still kind of firm actually, but all the others are really soft. And I think that's fine. Some textural variety is okay. Okay, so I'm going to move this chicken to a better location, which I think right here is going to be the ticket. Zach, could you just help me take some of these additional things out of the way, put them on our dining room table? Move this chicken behind my face.
You want to answer a question?
Yes, I do. But first, I just need you to move the towel and hot pad over here so I can put the chicken on it. Thank you. And then we'll do the salad. Thank you. All right, let's answer a question.
My diet is super clean, but I eat the same thing most days. It sounds like that's bad.
Oh yeah, so this was in response to a post that I shared about diversity and variety in your diet. And of course, I don't like to say things are like super good or super bad. I feel like there's enough of that going around. We don't need to add guilt to our food choices. But I will say, having variety can be extremely important for nutrition overall. We are omnivores for a reason. We are supposed to be able to eat a variety of foods. And when you think of omnivore, basically means, eats everything. And I like to think of that in the context of plants as in certain seasons, because they would just be out eating like one berry of this plant, one bite of this leaf or whatever. And that's how one of the ways that they had really robust microbiomes. So for your microbiome health, variety is really good. You'll get more fiber, more polyphenols. You're also more likely to hit all of your needed nutrients when you have more variety. So I would say find something that works for you. Maybe that's the template that you've already figured out. And then see if there are even little ways that you can deviate it. If you eat chicken with, white potatoes very often, maybe you switch that out for even just a red potato or a different breed of potato or sweet potato. Any of those are going to give you some variety in phytonutrients, polyphenols, and nutrition. We just talked about how potatoes and sweet potatoes have different nutrition as well. So I would say if you can get some variety in, I would definitely recommend it. But the foundations are more important. So if foundationally you feel like your diet is manageable, you're eating enough food, you're getting enough of your macronutrients, you feel pretty good, then you would just kind of be leveling up your diet by adding in the variety. And some people really, really need that and they notice a difference in their health. And other people, it's more of a disease prevention type of strategy. I have to move these potatoes. Sorry. Okay. I think that answers that question. Zach, let's taste these potatoes. Ooh. We'll get to the salad, I promise. This is for the Brussels sprouts. Okay. They're good. I can give them a little more time. I forgot they're on a lower temperature than usual, so they'll take a little longer, but that's great. All right.
No double dipping.
Need more salt. Don't taste it yet.
That's
Dump it in.
a double dip.
Isn't that a new fork spoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So technically,
We're not going to say that if it is. Okay. Definitely need salt, even though I cooked them in salted water. And also, if you oversalt your potatoes, one thing that I always do, and this is like just a me thing, Zach hates it, I never cook all of something. So like I have some Brussels sprouts left over, I have some potatoes left over. Like that's pretty standard because sometimes if you ruin something, you can fix it by just adding more of the main ingredient. So if your potatoes are too salty, the only way to resolve that is by adding more potatoes.
what if you had more butter?
It might help a little bit, but it's probably going to make them too greasy.
That tastes good.
Yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. Good? More salt?
No,
Too salty?
very salty.
Well, the salt hasn't had a chance to disperse, so you want to give it a little bit of time anyway. Can you put that on the table for me? All right, let's see if we are going to make it through these last two recipes. The first is the kale salad. So this recipe is on my blog, and it is tahini kale salad. It's really good. The only change that we're going to make is instead of using red onion, we're going to use pomegranate. So again, I'm probably only going to get to do half of it tonight because obviously this takes much longer than we because I'm behind. Let's just be honest. Because I'm behind. Yeah, it's not sugarcoated. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I already washed the kale. I stripped it of its stems. If you do make this, I personally much prefer it with lacinato or dinosaur kale or Tuscan kale. They're all the same thing, just by different names. But they don't have that here. I guess they only had it seasonally, so I was able to find it in August and September, but it's gone now. So I'm just going to bunch up this kale and chop it. What I really want to do is use the food processor, the pulse blade, and that's what I would recommend, but I think I've kind of decided that it's a little too loud. And plus it has to be behind me because the extension cord won't even fit for it to be over here. So we're just going to chop it by hand. That's fine, but if you're making something like this for Thanksgiving dinner, you can totally pulse kale in food processor. It's really hearty. The reason that I'm choosing kale is because we're serving our food tomorrow, and kale is great for a make-ahead salad. It doesn't get soggy. It gets softer and tastes even better as the days go on. I would say usually, because I love arugula, we have some kind of an arugula salad if we're doing like a Friendsgiving type of thing, but I didn't want to subject all of our expat friends to a soggy salad. So they're doing kale instead. I bought, I think, almost 4 pounds of kale. Maybe a little bit less, but that was with the stems on. So I am going to chop all this up. Then we're going to massage it. Then we're going to make the dressing. It's a tahini dressing. And we're going to toast up some seeds. Okay, Zach.
Yes.
Any questions left on that list of Instagram questions?
We had a question way back when from
Oh,
Barbara.
sorry.
I'm not sure if she's still on. Regarding the zesting of the Brussels sprouts.
Yeah?
She asked if you could also add lime zest instead of lemon zest.
Oh, like for the limonene? Yes, all citrus fruits will have it. Orange and lemon have the most, but I believe, well, most citrus fruits, as far as I know, that lime and grapefruit also both have it. I don't know, in terms of flavor, I have never tried it with lime, but I feel like lemon and lime, although they bring something different to the table, it's similar enough that you can use them mostly interchangeably.
Do you have any tips for portion control on Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah. So this is sort of a tricky one. I think everyone, I did talk about how one of the concerns with our digestion on Thanksgiving is that we eat too much. I think portion control should always come from within. Sometimes you have to learn that, and you can't trust yourself yet. And I understand that can be challenging, but I definitely think it's a skill worth learning. And you don't have to actually, figure out like the measurements exactly. You just want to kind of start to understand what your body needs. So I feel like that falls into the category of intuitive eating and mindful eating. I think a lot of times people will take less food than they actually want and think that that's appropriate portion control. But for some people, that really actually causes them to overeat. It's like the idea of if you have a small cookie, it's really small, you can have 25 cookies. I think that definitely happens. Whereas sometimes if you have this gigantic cookie, it looks amazing and it looks appealing and it looks like enough. So it's this idea of lack versus abundance that we kind of deal with a lot of things in life, but also with food. So if you pile up your plate and it is nice and abundant looking, then you're more likely to be satisfied from that than if it's like a measly serving. So when it comes to trying to kind of give yourself some confines for portion control, my recommendation would be aim to get lots of like non-starchy veggies. So if you can fill up half your plate with the salad, the roasted carrots, the cheesy cauliflower maybe that my mom mentioned, sort of these non-starchy vegetables, then you're still going to get the abundance and you're going to get variety, but you're kind of going to crowd out some of the super, super heavy things. And then the other thing is make sure you get your protein. I mean, I never loved turkey. I think a lot of people aren't super into turkey. But, if there's something else that has protein, or if you like protein, you can get a little bit of the turkey. I think protein is really, really important, and we want to make sure that we're not having like a major carb bomb meal if possible. Yeah?
Yeah.
How
do you make sure that you still have room for dessert?
Well, if you are like a lot of people, you don't have to make room for dessert. You have, what's the Japanese word for second stomach? There's a term in Japanese that means basically like dessert stomach. That's how it like translates, which is very cute. But we can kind of go back to that digestion piece. Enzymes can really help make sure if you don't have adequate digestive function and you take some enzymes with your meal.
What about moving around?
And then you, after your dinner, go for a nice walk, you are going to start utilizing all of the food that you just consumed. Immediately, your muscles don't require any insulin, so they'll just uptake the food, the sugar, especially carbs, right, from the bloodstream immediately. So it's a great tip for people with diabetes or anyone really. You can start using that fuel immediately, and then you'll have more room for dessert maybe.
So like dinner, walk with an adult beverage.
I never said that.
And then come back and then dessert.
Maybe. I think that it's, you kind of have to
and then walk and then
do what
leftovers.
feels right. Yeah. Like if you're eating really early, you're probably going to have, 2 meals.
Yep.
Like we're having people come here at 3, so we're probably going to start eating around 4 o'clock. And then everyone's going to leave and go have second dinner at home.
And we're going to eat whatever they did eat.
Yeah, so. But walking after your meal or after your dessert it's beneficial for your blood sugar. Moving also helps with digestion. You don't want to move too quickly, so, You don't want to go for a brisk walk necessarily because that can impede your digestion.
Gotcha. There's a question here about not related to Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's fine.
How did you choose CNS over RD?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I always get a lot of these kinds of questions. So I can give you a little bit about myself. I am a nutritionist.
Ew.
I am a certified nutrition specialist and a licensed dietitian nutritionist. And I chose the pathway that is in the more functional and integrative realm. So I am not trained to work in a hospital. So RD's a large portion of their training includes what you would need to know in order to help someone in a hospital setting. I don't have that training really at all. Like we had like 2 or 3 questions on our exam about it, even though that like CNSs can't do that exact work. So CNS is if you're into a little bit more of the, some people will say like holistic, integrative, functional nutrition, but the idea is you're trying to get to the root cause of an illness rather than prescribing like a weight loss diet or a kidney diet, things along those lines. So I really wanted to have a more sort of well-rounded food-focused approach. The challenges there are that since we can't work in those traditional hospital jobs, there are some other hospital jobs we can have, but we can't do the traditional ones. And so that does mean that the job market can be slim by comparison, which I wrote all about in a blog post, which I think is why a lot of people ask me these kinds of questions. Can you bring me that container to the right that has seeds and pomegranate? Yeah, and the pomegranates. Thank you. So I guess that's kind of why. Also, if I'm being perfectly honest, there was not a lot of information about this when I started out. I didn't really know that there was that much of a difference when I first started. So the real question is that I didn't know any better, but I chose the school that I wanted to go to based on the type of curriculum that they were teaching, which is what I ended up getting. And so I am happy with that. Okay, so massage your kale. Always massage your kale. Depending on the type of kale will influence how long you want to massage it. 30 seconds to a minute is always sort of my go-to, but as you can see, each piece is coated with oil. I put a little bit of salt in there as well. It's good to salt your leaves, and it provides an abrasive that helps further soften the kale. So that's what you have to do there, and then we're going to make the dressing. Zach, could you read off the dressing ingredients, please?
Yes. 2 tablespoons of vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
a 1/4 cup of tahini, 1 clove of garlic, 3 teaspoons of lemon. What's tea? Just
Is it a large tea?
Yeah.
That's tablespoon.
3 tablespoons of lemon, olive oil and water, and then you have 1/4 teaspoon of salt.
Thank you. I'm gonna check our cranberries real quick. Ooh, they are looking nice. Let's give them a little stir. I'm gonna need you to read those again later more slowly.
It smells good.
So it does smell really good. I want to show the camera. It's so far away. Can you see? They're starting to cook down a little bit. They kind of don't look that much different in the camera.
No, they don't.
But they're definitely starting to cook down. We're going to give it some more time. So cranberries are, I have it set on the wrong setting. Cranberries are rich in D-mannose. Well, that's actually true. But they are rich in pectin. And pectin is the thing that kind of thickens or naturally thickens jams and jellies. So that's kind of a nice thing that they already have. All right, Zach, can you take this and just put it over there, maybe on top of the potatoes?
Is it hot?
Across a little bit, yeah. Careful, don't pinch it too much. I'm not going to reuse that pan that we did the sausage in for. Actually, I'll just wipe it out. No, I'm not going to do that because there's somebody who's a vegetarian, and I want to be respectful. So I'm going to use a new pot, and we're going to also get the seeds going. So this salad is massage kale, a tahini dressing. We're doing pomegranate seeds or pomegranate arrows on top instead of the red onion. And then I'm going to toast both sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds for this one. So basically, I'm just going to put a pan on the stove and, oops, I just turned it off, and let them toast sort of over low heat. Thank you. So I usually like to season them up with salt, pepper, sometimes smoked paprika, sometimes garlic powder, lots of options. And after a couple of minutes, I'll add a little olive oil. So let me toast most of them. And can you also get a lemon from the shelf over there? So I like to make a large batch of these actually. This is just for this salad. It's kind of a lot, but it's supposed to have a lot of seeds in it. Sometimes I'll make a large batch. I'll do like a whole bag of both of these. Actually, I think I'm going to do that in it. And keep them on hand to throw on salads during the week or just to munch on. Thank you. That's the rinse. All right. We're going to get our lemon juice going in here and see if there are any seeds. Pop those out. Okay. Can you look on the paper, Zach, and tell me what topics that I had I wanted to discuss?
Potatoes and resistant starch.
Oh, yeah. Good. Okay. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is if you're going to make some things ahead, the sort of starchier things are great to make ahead because a lot of starches will actually form something called resistant starch as they cool. So if you have cooked and cooled potatoes, they will form resistant starch. Now, some of that resistant starch will break down when you reheat it, and that's okay because some of it will remain. And so, that resistant starch is actually good for your gut microbiome. So if you feel like adding a little extra, benefit to some of your meals and things that maybe won't make you feel quite as weighed down, then giving them the chance to cool and then you can reheat them can be a good idea. You don't have to do it if that's not how you roll on Thanksgiving, but making your potatoes ahead and then reheating them is just one sort of simple way to do that. And the other nice thing about that is, or the other thing to note about that is you definitely want to add most of your seasoning like butter ahead of time. When you try to mix butter in later, the potatoes are kind of too hard and gloopy, so I would mix in your butter first. How much vinegar in, oh wait, no, I remember. Go ahead.
Vinegar and fiber.
Oh yeah, so the resistant starch functions very similarly to fiber in your gut, which means that it's going to essentially sort of slow down the absorption of some of the carbohydrates, which will help you not to feel quite so weighed down, hopefully, help balance your blood sugar a little bit better. And it will also feed your microbiome, which I already mentioned. So fiber in general is great for feeding your microbiome. Polyphenols are also great for feeding your microbiome. Those are primarily coming from darkly colored fruits. So things like pomegranate seeds, which we are having here. And so the fiber in vinegar was actually something I thought about because we were talking about ways to sort of help you feel not so bloated. And so those are also helpful ways to not feel quite so bloated, adding more fiber and more vinegar to your meal. So we've got vinegar in our salad dressing. We've got vinegar or acid at least in the cranberries when we add the orange juice. And then hopefully, even though we're at the 2-hour mark, we're gonna make the sage salsa verde, which is from Sami Nosrat. which is vinegary, sort of acidic addition. Okay, so this tahini and dressing is really fun because it gets so extremely thick. You have to add water and then it will thin out. It's true for a lot of nut and seed butters, but especially true for tahini. It's just because of how the liquid that you add interacts with the solid fat molecules. So you'll just add a little bit more. I need to give that a taste, and we are going to add, I'm going to add some of I have a little bit of roasted garlic left, so that's what I'm going to add to the dressing. But not the stuff for tomorrow's potatoes, just a little bit, because this calls for a clove of garlic. And I love like 1 or maybe half a clove of garlic in salad, even raw. It gets really, really flavorful, and it can, like a lot of times you can't even taste that it's garlic. Just adds a little extra sort of secret flavor. Okay, Zach, do we have any other questions? Oh shoot, I just
What is your cooking experience?
Oh yeah. Okay. So as I told you, I am a CNS. I started I went to school for my master's 2016, and I have been cooking my whole life. I don't have really any truly formal cooking training. I've been cooking my whole life, and for a year I did work in a professional kitchen in San Diego right before we moved to Japan. So we cooked sort of meal prep meals for people. We made like 300 meals over the course of the weekend, something like that. And those, that's kind of where I really got the majority of my cooking experience, or at least professional cooking experience. And Kim, I don't know what you're up to right now, but Kim was my boss and my friend. She's amazing. Oh, this is really good. It's not done up yet. But yeah, so like that's where I kind of learned how to do things quickly. So the fastest way to strip rosemary and thyme, the fastest way to strip kale, the fastest way to cut up a bell pepper or a tomato. Because we had a weekend, we basically had 2 days to cook and 1 day to pack. So it was a lot of work, and time was of the essence. But yeah, I worked in fine dining restaurants in front of the house when I was in college, and for at least like 10 years. But yeah, that's my cooking experience. And then also at NUIH, where I went to get my master's degree, we also had cooking classes. So I did take all of the cooking classes that were offered at NUIH as well. Okay, just giving this a stir. These are over low heat, but I don't want to get too distracted because they can burn. Okay, so I'm going to use these tongs because I feel like my hand in here right now. We're going to kind of try to mix this in. I've got more of the dressing for tomorrow to put on top, and I will open this other pomegranate for tomorrow. I think for today we're already at time, and I didn't get to the sage salsa verde, in part I think because I'm going to blame it on the internet going out, right? That really threw us off. But yeah, so that's maybe half the dressing. We're coating it. It's going to be delicious tomorrow. So this is another thing you can make ahead. And then we'll add more dressing when it's time to serve, along with all the other toppings. So actually, you can put this back over there, and I will mix these pomegranate seeds. So pretty and colorful.
Woo!
Love how that looks. Okay. You just take that away. Last thing we're going to do is make this sage salsa verde, or at least we're going to attempt to. This is Samin Nosrat from Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, one of her 3 sides that she recommends for Thanksgiving to make it brighter and more flavorful. And this was the one that was most appealing to me. It is a little tricky because you do have to fry sage and then chop up some other things. So we're gonna have to take a second to make some space here. Zach, can you take this, please? Thank you. And then can you bring that little pot over? I also want to check on our apple crisp. Oh, do you know what? I forgot to set a timer for the Brussels sprouts. Or maybe I set it and it went off and I ignored it. But
Perfect.
I don't know.
now they're overdone.
I don't know what was hot with this.
Yeah, they are definitely overdone, but still edible. And look at, we have more Brussels sprouts to cook tomorrow, so we'll just mix these in with the others. But that's kind of the nice thing about this is that you get some different like crunchy bits, but everything can be easily mixed, and it's usually not going to be soggy when you do them like this. So also make sure you set a timer because I thought I did, but I guess not. Okay. And then our apple crisp can just go on the back burner. Still in the oven, but it's done. So I'm going to turn the oven off. And we're going to make some space for this. I want to make sure that you can see everything that we have all at once. So let's see if I can get this sage salsa verde together. Can you take this dressing, please, Zach? And let's put it on the table over there. All right. So the sage salsa verde, honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the whole thing perfectly, but I can sort of show you what the process is. You want to mince up a shallot really finely. This was another thing I was planning on doing in the food processor. Soak it in red wine vinegar and then mince up some parsley really finely and just cover that with olive oil. And then you're going to just fry some sage. Sage gets super crispy when you fry it, and you just kind of put it on a paper towel. When it's good to go, you crumble it in. So we're going to see if we can just do this sage bit as the last bit. I made a half version of this earlier this week, but I didn't add any sage to this one. So maybe we'll just add the sage to this one. And where's the sage? Ooh, yeah, so here's the graveyard. I made 7 recipes. I feel like we made it through 7, but not 8. So here's all of this beautiful sage, which was actually pretty hard to find. And I'm just going to use oil. You can use a high heat oil here. So like an olive oil is probably not the best option. I think avocado oil is going to be the best choice if you have access to that. But really, I mean, I don't do a lot of frying. And so I'm only going to kind of do a shallow fry. So I would just sometimes I've used like a light olive oil if I'm going to shallow fry. Okay. We are getting there, guys. Okay. I just threw that on the floor. I think that was probably in the camera though. Okay, so cranberry sauce is still cooking down. That is not going to be done by the time we finish, is my guess. That you can also make in the rice cooker or in the slow cooker. I've done that before with cranberry sauce. Yeah, so basically all we're going to do now is just fry up a few pieces of sage. Sage is sort of tough and leathery when it's fresh, so you really don't want to like mince this up and put it in something like a fresh salsa. I mean, I haven't tried that, but I wouldn't typically recommend that, and neither does Samin. So we're just kind of going to do a little handful of this for the presentation purposes. I have an extra burner I was planning on having here for these kinds of things, but the extension cord wasn't long enough, and so I'm not going to do anything dangerous. We've already knocked our power out 3 times, so we're just going to have to wait for this to come to temperature, and you'll know it's to temp when you either splash a little bit of water in and it sizzles, or you can just drop a sage leaf in and it should kind of fry up really quickly. Any other questions or topics or anything from the list?
Your choice
Holy
of
crap.
tools and materials.
Oh, careful there. So I think that was just, I wanted to point out the aluminum tray that I used for something that was a little on the more savory, fatty side, rather than you cooking something acidic in the aluminum tray. We also use primarily stainless steel in our house, and then sometimes cast iron or something similar. And then I don't really recommend nonstick cookware. I do have the rice cooker is nonstick. That's our only nonstick item. It's not great for the environment. It's not great for us. It typically contains those forever chemicals, which once they're created, they get created as you cook. They last forever in the environment or in our bodies. So I typically don't recommend those if you can avoid them. Anything else?
I'm trying to improve my relationship with food so I don't pass bad habits to my kids, but I'm also avoiding foods that trigger GI stuff. Any advice?
Yeah, that's really tricky if you're like trying to heal your relationship to food, but you're also dealing with symptoms from the food that you're eating. For one, I recommend my friend Abra. You can find her on Instagram or her website, Abra Papa. She really specializes in that sort of juxtaposition. But realistically, you kind of have to just start with wherever you are and try to, when it comes to influencing your kids, they're definitely going to, model after you, but also they're going to hear whatever you're saying. So if you're saying, I can't eat that, it's bad for me, that's different than saying apples hurt my tummy. So trying to be less judgmental and using less morality and a little more specific is what I would recommend. I used to work with kids, but I don't have any of my own, so kind of keep that in mind. But generally, as a professional, we really recommend that you try not to use moralistic language around your kids when it comes to food. All right, we're ready. And then just try to be, honest, like, oh, it hurts my stomach. Kids are smart. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to toss a bunch of these in, but I want to show you if you can see how it sizzles. Oh, you can't really see the angle. Well, I'll show them to you when they're done, but I'm just going to cook like a handful of these. They'll kind of all just cook up. And we'll drain them. Can you turn that back burner off for me, Zach? All right. I don't know if you can see that at all, a little bit, but they cook very quickly. I look for them to sort of change color, and this is a shallow fry, and the oil is probably a little hotter than it should have been. But if you have a spider or if you're doing a bigger fry, there are like better ways to get this out. I'm going to use this slotted spoon and hope that they are crispy enough. Some of them might not be perfectly crispy, but as long as they are mostly cooked through, we're not looking for the texture on the palate. We're really looking for it to kind of break down the leatheriness so we can crumble it. All right, we're not going to probably get a chance to crumble it because they won't cool, or we should wrap up here. But essentially, that's done. And sorry that we're 15 minutes over and didn't fully get to make this, but a little bit of salt on there. As you can see, they are crispy. Let's pick one that's mostly cool. They'll continue to crisp up as they cool. So if you take it out, it doesn't seem crispy. As long as it was hot and you saw it kind of fry right away, it should be good to go. When you're frying things, sometimes you can tell that it's done because it stops bubbling. I find with something like this, it's probably gone too far if it stops bubbling. So I kind of just drop it in and make it super quick. But let's see. We can, yeah, so I can still kind of crumble that. We'll just crumble that right in here. And that way you have something that is really sort of bright and vibrant and acidic to balance out all of the butter and rich, heavy things. Okay, so for our last thing, I'm just gonna bring everything over here so we can see it all at once. If you could help me with that back. So we will put the cranberries here. Let's move these. And fortunately, we have a dishwasher here, so we did not have a dishwasher for like the last 10 years. So at least we have that going for us tonight, right? For cleanup, for all this cleanup. All right, we're gonna try and display everything over here if we can. Yeah, go ahead and plop that down, please. Okay. Thank you. Brussels sprouts. Put them to the side. That. All right. Okay.
Chicken back.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if we're gonna have room for the chicken.
Just stand.
Yeah, hold it. So also these seeds are still kind of toasting. So I don't want them to burn, so I don't want to turn them up, but you can season them with salt, whatever you want. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil to them, but I think I'm gonna just throw a few on this salad because toasty here, just so we can have a nice little look-see. Is that everything, Zach? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You have the sauce.
That's okay. The dressing can stay over there. Oh, the apple crisp. Okay. I'm gonna be able to put that here. Let's see.
You're gonna need it.
Yeah. All right. Can you pick that up for me? We're gonna put the apple crisp up. This is exciting. And yeah, got it. Oh, this apple crisp, and I did get ice cream to go with it. So we got some ice cream from a local, like actually pretty easy to get local stuff here. I feel like they kind of prioritize local stuff, so that's nice. All right, and this is the cranberry sauce, which is going to need a little bit more time, or maybe I'll throw it in the rice cooker. Guys, we sort of did it. I feel like what I really needed was 2.5 hours, and
An Ethernet cable.
an Ethernet cable, not for my Wi-Fi to go out because it was just the Wi-Fi. Okay, so we have 2 chickens. I forgot about gravy. Zach told me that people like gravy, so sorry, there's no gravy. But we've got 2 chickens with some onions and tricolor carrots, mashed potatoes, some overcooked shredded Brussels sprouts that maybe will just be crunchy sort of topping on your potatoes, 1 tray of stuffing, apple crisp, the crispy sage for the sage salsa verde, the kale tahini salad, and the in-process cranberry sauce. That's it.
Not bad.
Thank you for being here. I think even if it takes you 2.5 hours, it's not bad for Thanksgiving. Do you want to come in here and say hello and goodbye?
Be great.
Sorry about the internet.
Thanks everyone.
All right.
Send us Wi-Fi.
It's really my computer. Thanks for being here, and hopefully you have a lovely, delicious Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye.